Welcome to the Garden Report after the Celtics beat the Lakers to become the all-time NBA wins leaders. I am Jared Weiss. I am next to Jimmy Toscano.
What's up?
And this show is brought to you by ZipRecruiter and Blue Apron. We'll talk more about those in a bit. First, let's talk about a game that I feel was won in the first half. And it started when Marcus Smart checked into the game halfway through the first quarter, where the Celtics were looking worse than the Lakers, incredibly so. And then Marcus came in for Jaylen Brown, and he pickpocketed Nick Young, I think, on the first play that he was in there. Went coast to coast, and he pretty much took over the rest of that quarter. Really set the tone defensively for that team, and they really took control after that.
Yeah, so here's what happened. Marcus Smart sitting on the bench, watching Nick Young dance up and down the court, Swaggy P style, jiggling all over. D'Angelo Russell doing the same, and he's saying, what the hell is going on out here? This is Boston right now. There's Lakers fans cheering. So, of course, Jaylen Brown missed a couple of assignments, whatever it may be. They hit a couple of shots. Brad Stevens made the switch, and immediately you saw the Marcus Smart effect. He comes in, plays his textbook defense, what he's known for, and the game starts to turn a bit. The Celtics get those steals that you mentioned. Brad Stevens talked about it after the game. Smart leading in transition on his own steals, and then Isaiah Thomas mentioned the fact that he single-handedly changed the game for them, and going into halftime, they all knew that they had to continue to play that way and follow Smart's lead. Isaiah Thomas, a guy who's dropped 38 points, is talking about how he had to follow the lead of a guy who scored 9 points tonight. So it goes to show his effect.
Sometimes defense does win games against bottom-feeder teams. But, what was interesting was that the Celtics were getting killed in transition defense, where the Lakers were just kind of swinging the ball around in transition, finding shooters on the weak side elbows, and Jaylen kept getting lost trying to find Nick Young in transition. Young had those threes. He got his shimmy on. He got his swaggy swag on.
He got his swag on. And you know what? When Swaggy P's getting his swag on, that's worth the price of admission right there. I think a good Swaggy P is good for basketball. I thought that was fun, but all good things must come to an end, and they almost always do with Swaggy P and the Lakers. They get hot. They get into a little street ball. I thought the Celtics were guilty of maybe playing into the Lakers' sort of style in the beginning of that game. Brad Stevens called the timeout, probably settled them down a little bit, made the switch to Smart, and then it was Celtics basketball more so from there on out.
Yeah, Smart was just killer defensively in the first half. And that was crucial because it was the guards that were really doing it for the Lakers. But then Jaylen Brown came back in later in the game, later in the first quarter. The second quarter was the big time for him, where he had 10 points. He got to the line. He still can't finish layups at all. He can't even really complete drives. He tends to get the ball poked away from him. But when he gets a second chance, he's able to get to the rim. He at least is drawing fouls. And you're right. I think we used the phrase "that will come" when I was talking to the people sitting next to me. Pretty much the entire second quarter with Jaylen Brown, because every time he gets to the rim, it's a good play, but it's just not quite good enough to finish. But he's only in he's halfway through his first year, so you're going to see that improve. But tonight was a good preview of what you expect to see from him a couple years down the road. And really, same thing for Brandon Ingram as well.
Yeah, on Jaylen, 32 minutes tonight. This is a guy who is playing legitimate minutes. He's a real part of this rotation for a Celtics team that's going to be fighting for a #1 seed down the stretch. So the fact that they're already putting a lot of this, trust in Brown at this early in his career says a lot about his development, says a lot about the type of player he is, and about, I think, the brain, the IQ. And yeah, you're right, he's not finishing all of his shots, but he is getting, I think every game he's working on a little bit something in his arsenal. And I think you're going to see it first. Maybe you didn't see it in the first quarter tonight, but you'll see it first on the defensive end, and then the offense will come. That happens with guys. The offense comes.
And the second part will come in a minute, but first let's talk about ZipRecruiter. It is the best way to hire someone in the modern age. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/sportsfan and post your job to over 200 job sites to find the perfect candidate for your company or for your job listing. We are using it here at CLNS and on the Garden Report, and really everybody around the country is using ZipRecruiter, so that's ZipRecruiter.com/sportsfan. We'll be right back for part 2, where we'll talk about Brad Stevens, the Eastern Conference All-Star coach, and some Paul Pierce.